junior.
Thanks, Nick.
So
You're welcome.
For keeping us grounded.
why would they?
I'm surprised it hasn't been an issue with
Perfect.
businesses right now are hiring 15, 16 civic coaches. Then they're working
It's almost 7 o'clock.
50.
Yeah, they can't. That's still illegal,
It is, but that's what's happening.
but they're doing it. Yeah, some of
They
them
can't get nobody else to work.
Yeah, well, and the
Okay.
kids know they can get away with it because
These microphones are very sensitive too.
It's not 7 o'clock yet, though.
yeah, they know they can get away with it because they're not checking.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to our city council meeting on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. We'll excuse Mayor Hunsaker. He has a previous commitment. He's asked me, myself, Councilmember Miller, to fill in for him. We have a full city council here with us. Jen is joining us via Zoom. And thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Please stand. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there anyone who would like to give us an invocation or an inspirational thought?
Sure.
Thanks, Ben.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful to be gathered once again, thankful for the community and the residents that we serve, thankful for this beautiful area and all that we enjoy and the freedoms that we have in our lives. We ask you to bless us this night with thy guiding hand, that we might be able to review the matters of the city and make decisions that are in the best interest of our residents. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ben. All right, before we get started, is there any declarations of conflict of interest on anything on the agenda or to be discussed tonight? All right, so to get started, we'll start with the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the meetings from our regular city council meeting on April 20th, 2021. We have the bills, the invoice register for April 30th, 2021 in the dollar amount of $345,693.69. Do we have any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
Yes, there was a comment that I had made about the surveys to the senior center. I think it was in my report that wasn't worded accurately. I'm sorry I didn't have time to email you about that today. But anyway, shall I just email Aaron tomorrow? Or I don't remember exactly what the wording is in the minutes. I just remember when I reviewed them thinking that it wasn't quite accurate. Is that okay if I just email him tomorrow? Because it's a minor just clarification in what I had said.
Perhaps you might want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda subject to the modifications of that portion of the minutes that you'll engage our recorder with tomorrow.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Montoya. Do we have a second?
Well, second.
We have a second by Councilmember Hathaway. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Did we hear Jen?
Yeah, I said aye. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. All right, moving on to public forum. I believe we have some public comment. We'll turn the time over to Aaron to read one email.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, just one public comment tonight. Sorry, I was trying to get the motion. It's from Jody Reed, and she says, "Dear May," didn't copy and paste right. "Dear Mayor and Council, I was very disappointed to see that the inclusion of information on the Imagine Santaquin General Plan Update Survey has been omitted from the May City newsletter in contrast to what Christy Ostema Brown assured us would happen. On the other hand, I'm excited to learn that paper surveys will be given out to seniors coming for lunches. But how about all the other seniors and everyone else who isn't comfortable using or has access to a computer? Why not include surveys in each utility bill? I would be happy to volunteer to stuff envelopes and later tabulate responses in this important effort. I'm also including a response from a resident that aligns with what I'm hearing from many people and that provides critical feedback to the city. When I took the survey, I felt like the wording was very leading, like they were trying to manipulate our responses. I also felt like the word/character limits for responses were unreasonable. If the survey asked for a one-word response, a two-word response was rejected. The character limit for additional input at the end was unreasonably small for any kind of valuable input. It definitely made me feel like the city wanted to look like they wanted feedback while limiting what input we could give. I look forward to hearing the presentation, but several things bothered me about it. First, the argument that we have to build more high-density housing to preserve agricultural land because high-density housing takes up less space. The way I see it, the only way that makes sense is if the city somehow plans to limit the total population, so once we reach that limit, they prevent further development, which obviously isn't how things work. I don't see what would prevent the rest of the land from being developed anyway. In the end, we'll just end up with a very dense population, crowded and possibly with limited resources, rather than the clusters of high density surrounded by agricultural land they tried to convey in the presentation. Next, they stated that high density housing requires less miles of things like roads, water lines, sewer, etc., making it less expensive to build and less expensive for the city to maintain. What they didn't address was that each mile of infrastructure would have a higher demand on it due to higher density. They didn't address what additional costs would be involved in building infrastructure to handle the higher load or the additional maintenance needed due to more wear and tear. Then the need for affordable housing. In response to a question, they defined affordable housing as housing that someone making 80% of the mean income can afford or something similar to that. By that definition, affordable housing is determined not by the type of housing built, but by the housing market itself. Not much would really be considered affordable housing in our current ridiculously overinflated housing market. And if or when the market crashes, suddenly the majority of Santaquin's housing would become quote-unquote affordable. Not a very stable or consistent way to determine the future of Santaquin, in my opinion. Another topic I felt was misleading was the discussion on lot size. After mentioning the residents' concerns about lot sizes, the presentation stated that the average lot size in Santaquin is 1/3 acre. Based on what I've seen, that surprised me until I realized the average must have included undeveloped lots, which can be quite large, skewing the average to appear higher. What I'd rather know is the average size for lots that are developed into housing, the median size lot, or the distribution of lot sizes, i.e. how many are smaller than 0.2 acres, between 0.2 and 1/3 acre, between 1/3 and half an acre, or larger than half an acre, for a more accurate picture. Thanks to all you do for all your hard work for the city. Jody Reed. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Jody, for sharing your comments with us. We appreciate that.
And Mayor Pro Tem, if I could just take a quick moment. I addressed this in the work meeting, but we did omit by accident that the inclusion of the survey in the newsletter. A postcard is being mailed out this Friday to every residential address, every address, I think, in Santaquin City. So everybody will be able to have instructions on how they can take the survey either electronically or how they can request a paper copy of that survey.
Perfect. So we saw that and we took care of it. So thank you, Ben. Any other comments? Okay, so we'll go to the appointments. The mayor has recommended to us two different openings that he is recommending, and he's looking for the consent of city council members. First one is Sarah Jorgensen to the Planning Commission. Would you like to come up and share some words of wisdom with us?
Words of wisdom. I'm Sarah Jorgensen. I have lived in Santaquin for 23 years, just with a 10-year moving to other places after I got married. We are grateful to be back. We've been here, we bought our house about 3 years ago. My husband and I have 6 kids. They're in soccer right now, loving everything that's going on. I'm excited to hopefully be able to serve on the Planning Commission. I've been on the RAP Tax Committee for the last year or so, and I'm grateful for this community and grateful that I can live here.
Yes, thank you. We're grateful for your willingness to serve. Do we do both of these and then
You can.
Okay. All right.
And do you all know Sarah? Okay.
I do.
You're all shaking your head and whatnot.
Yes. Okay, and then Kirk Durbin, and he'll be serving on the Historic Preservation Committee. Want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, good evening, members of the City Council. It's a privilege to be here. Really preserving historical memories of a city or any entity, I think is not really for old folks. It can be really for anyone. But I am grateful for the opportunity. My wife and I, we've been married almost 33 years. We're actually empty nesters. I'm originally from a small town in Arizona, and have made my way to Texas, California. I gave 22 years of public service as a state trooper. I just kind of a little quiet life. But one of the things that I did recognize out of my public service, which I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand before you today and actually give the willingness to serve in such an important capacity, is the legacy of each city and the identity that they actually want to project. And I think that it's so important that we preserve those memories. And so I think that our up and coming generations, I think, is something that they need to see about people's lives, and certain things that, such as houses, whether it be landmarks, buildings, that it established some sort of memory that identifies the city. I'll tell you, I am truly blessed to be here. I feel very fortunate. I love the city of Santaquin. My wife and I have been here now 2 years. We came here as empty nesters to be closer to our daughters, and now one's moved away. So we do have one in St. George, but very humble for the opportunity to serve, and I hope to get the opportunity to meet each one of you and to be in service however I can. So thank you very much for the opportunity. So
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve with us. Okay, so we just look
for a motion.
for a motion to appoint these members
Can
to.
they be done in the same, or do they need to be separate?
It can be done either way.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve appointments of Sarah Jorgensen to the Planning Commission and Kirk Durbin to the Historic Preservation Committee.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Councilmember Meekum. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess Jason, she knows what's next, and Norm, is that who's over historic preservation?
It's actually going to be John Bradley and Ron Jones. So
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll continue on. Jason, building permits and business license reports?
Yeah, Ben's pulling that up right there. So year to date, we're at 161 new residential dwelling units. That makes up 69 single family and 92 multifamily. And then the three commercial spaces there are the three commercial spaces that are going vertical right now, just south of Ace Hardware and Macy's. So that's where we're at with growth, or I should say building permits, which is related to growth. And then we have two new business licenses. We have Ridgetop Repair and Services, owned by Robert Black, at 911 East 370 South. That's contracting and handyman work in more of a home occupation type of business. And then we have Classic Caravan Convenience Store. This is the car wash that's attached to the Sinclair gas station, owned by Brianna Nixon, 700 East 450 South. Self-serve car wash. And those are the two business licenses we have to report. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We'll jump down to new business. Ordinance item number 6, Ordinance 0501, 2021, changes to public noticing requirements. Is that you, Ben? Aaron?
Yeah, so this is just following up with the memo I believe it was last council meeting. Kind of blanking on when it was when I presented that, but I just presented this ordinance and grateful for Jason's help and kind of supervising, kind of holding my hand and writing my first ordinance. But Municode software is pretty sleek and it was able to do it pretty quickly. So this is essentially just following up with that Senate Bill 201, which passed, which took out all the requirements for newspaper use in the public noticing process. And this just is kind of cleaning up our city code so that we are able to just be in line more with state code. That way we don't have this state mandate to not use newspapers, and then we still have this own internal code to use newspapers. So it's just for consistency's purposes, and as Ben pointed out, with most of the population more or less my age, it just doesn't make that much sense. And there are also cost-saving benefits to this, $3,000 to $4,000 a year, which is fantastic. But yeah, if there's any questions, present this ordinance for the council's consideration.
Perfect. You guys have any questions on this ordinance?
Should the numbers read 504 instead of 501 for the ordinance number?
No, this is the first ordinance of the year, of the month.
Of the month, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
501, yeah, that's right.
501.
Okay, great.
Perfect. If there's no other questions, we'll look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we adopt ordinance 0501 2021, an ordinance amending Santaquin City Code to reflect changes in state code for published noticing requirements, providing for codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date for the ordinance.
Perfect. We have a motion by Councilmember Meekum. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Montoya. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think that was an aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item 7, Resolution 0501 2021, a resolution adopting the tentative fiscal year 2021-22 budget for Santaquin City and its 3 sub-organizations: Santaquin City Community Development and Renewal Agency, Santaquin City Local Building Authority, and the Santaquin Water District. Ben?
Okay, I didn't have a chance to go over the presentation in the work meeting, so I'll do so right now with your permission.
Yes, please.
And let me share that. Okay, so this is really just a highlight of the budget. Tonight in the process is the passage of the or adoption of the tentative budget for the City of Santaquin for fiscal year 21-22. Fiscal year goes from July 1st to June 30th. And this is something that's been in development since the council initially met during your budget planning session back in late January or early February timeframe, and has continued with the efforts of our finance director, Aaron Shirley, and all of our directors who have been contributing input into the development of our budget. The adoption of the budget this evening is in its tentative form, and it makes it a public document that then goes onto our website, and it begins a process where public comment can be gathered and shared with our elected leaders. We will have a public hearing on June the 1st, and the council could either adopt the budget that night or wait until its second meeting in June to adopt the budget. For the fiscal year coming up, and we move some of these things out of the way so it's a little easier to see. Basically, our general fund budget is at $9.2 million, and our other utility funds, our water, sewer, storm drainage, and irrigation, are just above $6.5 million. And these are the different revenue sources that we have come in. A lot of our revenue comes in from growth, and impact fees that are collected are used to pay for growth. So you'll see impact fees being used for things like new water tanks and additional park acreage development, and purchasing of fire trucks and you name it. It is so that new growth pays for their proportionate share of the impact on our community. We have property taxes, which is actually only 4.3% of our overall general fund budget. Sales taxes, because we do not have a large tax base, is only 8.6% of our budget, and the remainder of the revenue coming in, the majority being either in the form of utility fees or impact fees, current residents or future. Our sales taxes are continuing to rise with the development of our commercial tax base that you've seen with Macy's and Ace and the restaurants that have come in. Those last two columns are budget numbers, and you can see that in fiscal year 2021, which is the current fiscal year, we anticipated a drop in sales taxes due to COVID-19. In fact, we never did experience a drop in sales taxes at all. We actually anticipated a 15% drop, and we grew. And that's, I think, attributed to the fact that people worked from home and people stayed here and made purchases more locally and supported more local businesses. And so that's why you see the dotted line there from where our projections currently are, follows really the trend line of where we're going as a community. Same with property taxes. Property taxes, the city of Santaquin is, along with every community in the state of Utah, receives the exact same amount in property taxes each and every year. The reason you see it go up is because what that accounts for is growth. So new homes are now starting to pay property taxes, but existing homes pay the same amount every year. Now, that may not be true for the individual taxpayer, but it's true in aggregate for the entire community. And the way that works is Santaquin City receives just under $1 million, probably in the $800,000 range. But the amount of money that's coming into Santaquin stays the same. As houses are assessed value, the rate goes down. The amount that the city receives is exactly the same. But they reassess a different portion of the city each year. And so some homes go up, others go down, and they see it kind of on a rotational basis every 5 years into their home. It's important to note that if your property taxes, let's say, are about $2,000, could be more, could be less. If they are about that much, 13% or 13.5% or roughly $270 of your $2,000 comes to the city of Santaquin. About an equal amount goes to Utah County. The majority, 70%, goes to the school district, and a small sliver goes to the irrigation, or excuse me, the Central Utah Water. So, we are a pretty small sliver to property taxes. As far as our general fund reserves, one of the concerns that we've always expressed is when we run into things like a housing bubble, are we prepared? And in 2007-8 timeframe, I think most cities were not prepared. But our city and many cities in the state of Utah have done a very good job to ensure that we have adequate reserves put aside. We are at the maximum level of the 35%, I believe. Aaron, is that correct? Pretty close to the 35%. We'll know at the end of this fiscal year. And our trend line is ensuring that we always have an adequate rainy day fund. You'll see that the actual general fund balance kind of goes up and down. That is because we're funding a project or we take on the project and that type of thing. But the trend line is what's important to note there. As far as how is our city balanced, a good chunk, almost 40%, goes to public works in our infrastructure. And we make a very healthy investment into our public safety as well, keeping a very safe community. I think we are ranked 4th safest community in Utah last year. But the area that's lacking, the area that needs a greater amount of investment is actually the quality of life items. Our parks, our trails and whatnot, and that's in the yellow, that's 8%. That has grown significantly from where it was last year and significantly from where it was the year before. But as we more balance our community, as our tax base continues to grow, we're going to see the city having the ability to put in the parks and the trails that our residents so much desire. As far as the year-by-year comparison, the only one that illustrates and looks like a drop is public safety. This, in fact, is not a drop. It was a one-time spike last year from CARES Act dollars that came in. So it spiked up because those funds all went into the fire department and were utilized out of the fire department, regardless if they were expended for this project or that project or even economic development. We just put everything through the fire department. Same with growth by functional area over time. Clearly, we have invested more in our public works and having great infrastructure in our public safety. But you'll see that public safety kind of spiked up and down, but the trend line is really what you're looking at. Major changes in 2021. We're obviously working on the construction of a new city hall. We're about to break ground on that in June. That'll allow us to have the space we need to have adequate staffing to support our growing population through fire and police and even administrative support. But we are running so fast right now that we are needing to add more full-time positions. We are planning to have an operations director or manager that'll be overseeing our risk management, our insurance, taking care of basically our people to make sure that their careers are developing and that they can go home safe at the end of the night. That person is also going to be over our police and the fire departments, our recorder and our treasurer, and enhance our overall responsiveness to our community. Utility clerk, we're looking at a full-time conversion there at some point throughout the year. We just brought on engineer and training. The council has approved the conversion of our fire chief to become the first time ever a full-time fire chief. Enhancing our administrative support of our police department and having an additional officer as well. What's not on this is the one that the council saw during your planning session. What's not on here is we have set money aside for a communications coordinator, PIO, director. We don't know exactly how this is going to be formed. We're trying to look at other cities of our size. Clearly, we're going to be at the forefront for a city of our size. We can't afford what a Provo affords or an Orem affords, but we are going to make an investment in having that main focal coordinating position, pending your approval. So, additional hours we have held off on putting, and this came from the rankings that the council had, held off on creating the additional fire department hours for part-time positions until such time as our fire chief is on full-time and can reassess our needs, ensuring that we have adequate supervision and providing data to the council with regard to the number of calls for service and all that type of thing. We are looking for additional hours for the court and community services, having a van that can go. We have a van that we acquired from was Mountain Land or it's a van for our seniors to pick them up for the dinners and whatnot.
UDOT van, isn't it?
Or it was a UTA or something like that. Van, a used van that we picked up. Promotions, we are looking to promote one of our corporals to a sergeant position to give greater depth of leadership command for our police department, and additional seasonal employees, and they've already, in many cases, hit the ground running for public works in the areas of parks and cemetery, water, and streets as well. As far as vehicles are concerned, some of these vehicles were purchased a little bit early, including the police cars. Some of them have not been purchased, but you might think they are because we had some leases that went away in our public works. We're trying anything and everything we can to support our local purchase of vehicles during this time, and so there hasn't been any reduction in the number of vehicles requested versus purchased pending your approval to ensure that we're continuing to invest in our local economy. Reuse of decommissioned police cars, we're looking to take some of the old ones and put them into other departments, and so they can continue to grow those departments as well and have the transportation that they need. But they're not life safety issues, so that if a vehicle breaks down, it's not the end of the world compared if it broke down during a police chase, that type of thing. Equipment, really we haven't had very many cuts in this area either. We've had just minor, small cuts to the requests in every department, spread very thin, because last year we had so many cuts because of the CARES Act that we and the COVID-19 that things weren't approved. This year we're not really cutting that much because we had the revenue from last year and this year, and so we're in a position where many of the requests have been approved that the council's already prioritized. Those things include starting a rotation system for our bulletproof vests and body cameras for our police officers, public order equipment, handgun replacement, a CBA compressor, air compressor, battery-powered fans, GPS data collector for engineering, and several pieces of equipment for our public works. The one thing we did hold off on is the library return box, not knowing what the future is of our third area of our city hall. And if there's grant potential that way, if that does become a library, it wouldn't be necessary for us to make that purchase at that time. We also held off on re-asphalting the $100,000 that was planned to re-asphalt this facility here. The thought process on that is that when the majority of the city staff moves out, we would do a full-on remodel of this building at that time, and we would roll that cost into the remainder of the funds that come out of the new city hall, do the remodel and the parking lot. The reason it's so high is because of the drainage issues in here, and we're going to have to dig up those drainage boxes, lay new infrastructure under the ground before putting the boxes in, or the asphalt in. But we are implementing a LPR traffic camera system, the fire department employee tracking system that's going to give a better handle for our new chief. We are looking, just keeping our eyes out for land acquisition for a future fire station. We can put it next to the soccer fields, but if there's a better opportunity to get it closer to the freeway, we'll keep our eyes open for an opportunity that might arise. Public Works, the vac truck cleanout, WRF solids handling, SCADA upgrades, sprinklers behind the museum. Phase 2 of the cemetery, you probably saw phase 1 completed with the asphalt that's out there in the cemetery. It looks great. Landscaping near the Summit Ridge Chapel. That's a portion that was inherited by the city when a developer went under and we pulled the bond in. Community services, we are going to be seeing, we're at 90% design right now on the Harvest View Phase 2, which is next to the soccer fields. That's going to put the parking lot in, the lighting for pickleball courts with bathrooms, concession stand, and the developer is going to be putting in a playground equipment. Updated Parks and Recreation Master Plan, that's so that we can starting to expand the number of parks and where our parks are developed all throughout our community, and a trail system to tie them together. City Hall community services space, that's the basement. We really want that City Hall to be the people's building and a place for the people to gather, not just exclusive use for certain groups. It's going to be open and accessible to everyone in our community. Skate park conceptual design, historic preservation survey, so we can preserve our history as well and have places for our teens. And then engineering the Summit Ridge tank and booster pump. That is one debt service that the city is looking to take on in the year ahead. And I know that many in our community are concerned about growth, but this is one where the tank is contractually obligated for us to provide water to the Summit Ridge area. Right now, all of the water in both the culinary pipes and the irrigation pipes all come from the same source, and we need an irrigation tank and booster pump station to put irrigation water into an irrigation tank. It's going to make a benefit to everybody in our entire community because of the way that water is distributed throughout our community. However, taking on new debt is always of concern. However, this is new debt that's paid for by new growth. If by chance it ever gets a push to try to stop this, it would become, because it is contractually obligated, new debt that would be taken on by existing residents, and we don't want to see that. We want to, everybody needs to pay their proportionate share. Administration, we're looking at the risk management, safety training, the online employee onboarding, and utility billing online forms. And then as far as current projects, we've talked about the new City Hall. The employee handbook update and training was already completed. The salary survey work was already completed. We're doing the employee evaluation software, internal control updates as our city grows and we have more eyes. Employee cash handling and audit policies, employee recruitment and retention program. The last thing we want to do is train people and then have them get taken by other cities. We may want to make it a great place for people to work and stay and retain great employees. Relocation of the county line, that's one that's on hold while the changes are being reviewed by Utah County with their county commissioners. Welcome and wayfinding signs, that really goes to support our agritourism, helping to point people where our different venues are. Municode's already been implemented. Selling the old public safety building property's already been completed. Pace and Santaquin annexation boundary, actually I should have crossed that out, that's completed. Water rate study and analysis is completed, but we need to sit down and go through that with each of our elected leaders. South Utah County transportation is something that's ongoing. And 8th South Payson Transportation Study, we've been invited to participate in that. Water wielding has already been completed as well. And the general plan update, the 242 initiative with the USU, and the Trails Master Plan are all things that are in process. You're seeing the work going forward with the new basketball court, the Utah Jazz basketball court in our Centennial Park. All of our NRCS projects are moving forward, and we're anticipating having better information and knowledge on where the land for those new facilities would be needed, and legal descriptions so that we can take care of our proportionate share, which is the land acquisition. Figuring out Third West and the one-way street, we have not taken that back on. We just haven't had the time to do so. Center Street storm drainage water issue, that's a CDBG funded grant project that's ongoing and can be kicking off here fairly soon. Highland Drive Canyon Road, we're excited that the kickoff meeting has started and that they are out there grubbing and starting that work to connect the frontage road from our north exit to our south. And then some of the fire things, the exhaust system has been completed as well. And so there's a lot going on, and we've been very busy. But our biggest investment really in this year is visioning, helping to better understand what our residents want, and balancing that with the overall needs and what's been pushed upon us by state legislators, stators, community engagement, enhancing our ability to communicate, to not only push information, but to engage our public throughout. Greater parks and trail systems that we need to have throughout our community. That's probably the biggest thing that we get asked for all the time is more trails, more parks that are closer to my home, and pickleball. We hear that all the time. Infrastructure, we know we need to continue as we have new homes coming. We need new tanks and continuing to grow our staff between firefighters and police officers and everything else. And then new facilities, the new city hall, which is really going to be the heart of our community, where our public can come together, and we appreciate that our heart of our community is in the heart of our community, right? So that is what's before you for your consideration. Tonight, it's not to make any changes, but to adopt it, and for the council to dig in and recommend any changes, for the public to dig in, recommend any changes, so that it can be adopted in its final form in the month of June. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, if there's no question, we'll look for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I will make a motion that we adopt Resolution 05-01-2021, a resolution adopting the tentative fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for Santaquin City and its 3 sub-organizations: Santaquin City Community Development and Renewal Agency, Santaquin City Local Building Authority, and the Santaquin Water District.
Perfect. We have a motion by Councilmember Montoya. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilmember Montoya. So sorry, Dave. We have a second by Councilmember Hathaway. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 8, Resolution 0502-2021, a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement with Mountain Land Association of Governments regarding the Santaquin Main Street Improvement Project Phase 4. Is that
Let me go. I'll give that up. It's okay.
Norm?
So Mayor and Council, this is for the interlocal agreement, the cooperation agreement for the funding portion of from MAG for the next phase of the Main Street project to continue the widening of improvements through from 300 East, which is where we left off, other than some behind the curb improvements that were done from 200 to 300, but from 300 East to 100 West is what this funding will cover. And this is the interlocal agreement that allows us to utilize those funds to be able to construct that project. The plan is to use our local match that we're required to have, 6.77%, which is in the tentative budget and which we have budgeted for, to be able to do the design. And that design would be done over the next 6 to 8 to 10 months, and then go out to bid in the winter or the spring, early spring, so that we can hopefully get some favorable pricing on the bids, and then get the construction done next construction season that UDOT will let us in there.
Perfect.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
answer any questions that you have on that.
Any questions? All right, if there's no questions, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 0502, 2021, a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement with Mountain Land Association of Governments regarding the Santaquin Main Street Improvement Project, Phase 4.
Perfect, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Meekum. Do we have a second?
I'll let you go this time.
I'll second.
Jen beat ya.
Jen beat both of us.
All right, so
Need this time, yes.
we have a second by Councilmember Bowman.
Way to go, Jen.
Do any further discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion, roll call or all in favor?
Resolution is roll call.
Oh, so sorry. Councilmember Hathaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Meekum.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Do we need to do a roll call on the previous one?
Yeah, we didn't do a roll call on that one.
Yes, if you could.
Okay, so how do we go
Do I
back?
need to make the motion again?
You might as well, sure.
Okay, so let's step back to item number 4. We'll look for item number 7. We'll look for a motion on resolution 0501 2021, a resolution adopting the tentative fiscal year budget.
I will make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Montoya. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hathaway. Any further discussion? None? Okay. Councilmember Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilmember Meekum,
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller, aye. Okay, motion passes. All right, discussion and possible action. Item number 9. Excuse me. Discussion and possible action regarding the award of the Santaquin Main Street Improvement Phase 4 design contract to JUB Engineers.
So Mayor and Council, this is a follow-up to the funding that you just approved for the funding for MAG to go ahead and get the design started so that we can move that forward. JUB Engineers successfully designed the first 3 phases of the project from basically just past the west side of the freeway to the 300 east plus the 100 north improvements that were done clear back in 2011. And they are on UDOT's pool to as far as qualified engineering firms. And so we would make a recommendation to approve that agreement, and we can get going on the design of the Main Street project again from 300 east to 100 west. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Perfect. Thank you, Norm. Any questions? Okay, so if there's no questions, we'll look for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion that we, I'm assuming approve the contract for JUB for the Main Street design.
For phase 4.
For phase 4.
For Phase 4, yes.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Councilmember Hathaway. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Meekum. Any further discussion? Is this roll call?
It doesn't necessarily need to be because it's a resolution, but where money is involved, it's advisable.
That's what I thought. Okay, so Councilmember Montoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Meekum,
Aye.
Councilmember Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller, aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item 10, discussion and possible action regarding the preliminary approval of Falcon Ridge subdivision, which is at 495 South, 300 East. turn the time over to Jason for this one.
Yes, council members, this is the Falcon Ridge development. It's located, Ben's getting into a vicinity map, but it's located at 495 South, 300 East. There's the new church that's built on the east side. It's been, I guess, it's not so much new anymore. It's been there for a year and a half or 2 years or so. But it's just directly north of that building. This is a proposed development on 6.46 acres, consisting of 19 lots. It's in the R10 zone, so all the lots are a minimum of 10,000 square feet and have a minimum lot frontage of 80 feet. Because it's next to an active agricultural use, there is fencing that's proposed there, and they've shown that per plans to have that fencing help protect the impacts of the development from that agricultural operation. This is a preliminary review, so it's gone through concept. It's had a public hearing. It's received a recommendation from the DRC and the Planning Commission, which has been unanimously recommended for approval, and that's because it meets our code. After the preliminary plan is approved, it would require final approval from the DRC, and that really is ensuring that everything is done and all the conditions have been met, all red lines have been taken care of before being recorded at the county. So it's really a pretty straightforward subdivision because it's just a standard zoning. It's 10,000 square foot lots. There is on lots 11 and 12, there is an easement there for an old ditch, which will be, we'll preserve that easement to take care of that. There is some significant stormwater facilities that are going to be installed with some city participation. That's just northeast, if you will, of lot number 1. There's kind of a little section there where there'll be some additional stormwater capacity to help with the slopes that are right there as 400 East drops down towards the frontage road. So those are some highlights, if you will. Again, really a pretty standard development, but all the requirements have been met, and we recommend that it be approved. So happy to answer any questions that you have about this.
Perfect, thank you. Do you guys have any questions for Jason?
No.
Okay, if there's no questions, then we'll look for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we approve the preliminary plan of the Falcon Ridge subdivision at 495 South, 300 East.
All right, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Montoya. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second by Councilmember Bowman. Any further discussion?
Could I just clarify that there are still some planning and engineering red lines that we would want to be addressed as a condition of approval?
I will amend my motion to include any red lines.
Thank you, Councilmember Montoya. Councilmember Bowman, are you going to amend your second?
Yes, I shall amend my second.
Perfect.
Where is it?
That's sufficient.
Okay.
Any other discussions? If no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. Thank you. Motion passes. No boards or anything today, so we're on to reports. We'll start with City Manager Reeves.
Not a lot to report. A lot of work has been going on in the area of our budget. Appreciate our finance director and his work in that regard. And a lot of work has been done with regard to the many different projects that we have undergoing, and also the ones that we want to take on, such as the community engagement that was talked about in our work meeting. So unless the council has any questions for me, I don't have anything more to report.
Okay. Any questions for Ben? All right. Thank you. Assistant City Manager Norm?
Yeah, so you may have seen that the construction has begun on the basketball court over at Centennial Park. The They prepped the ground, and they should be pouring the concrete here in the next 30 days or so. There will be a curing period that we need to get done there between when the concrete is done and when they actually do the surface on it. I believe it's a 30-day time that they need to be able to cure the concrete before they put the actual jazz-colored and striping surfaces on there. And in the meantime, there will be other work that will be going on to finish the grading and finish that project up. As been indicated, the Harvest View Sports Complex Phase 2 with the pickleball courts, 8 pickleball courts in the parking lot, the drainage, and other improvements, the restroom that's going to be going in there. That is a 90% design. We just received that yesterday. We'll be reviewing that internally with staff, providing comments back to the design engineer, and then getting a final package and sending that out to bid. It's important to note that there will likely be 3 contracts on that. One would be a heavy general contractor that will do all the dirt work, drainage, asphalt, the building, curb and gutter, sidewalk, etc. Then the pickleball courts will come separately because that's a specialty contractor. I believe there's only 2 contractors in the state of Utah that do those post tension courts, specialize in the ones that we spec. And then also landscaping will be the very last thing that we do on that. We anticipate that we would be coming probably to you in the next 30 to 45 days with those, at least 2 of those contracts to get them going and get the dirt work going and moving and get the project underway. Lots of, again, other things going on. As you know, the Main Street project that is being done by UDOT is they're still doing the pedestrian ramps, the ADA ramps right now. It's our understanding from the information we received last week that they will be starting to mill and pave this week. So we would anticipate, I believe it's tomorrow and through Friday will be a pretty heavy delay on the west end of Main Street. We're encouraging folks to follow the signage and any folks that need to get out to or from Summit Ridge, we would encourage you to use the south end rather than the north end. Although it will be less convenient, it will be very congested. The Main Street project as it goes will be down to 1 lane and alternate back and forth with flaggers to allow 1 lane to go and then the other lane to stop and vice versa throughout the duration of that project. That's actually a quite extensive project, a mill and pave from our interchange at I-15 all the way to Redwood Road, which is the road that goes north over to Saratoga Springs and Lehigh, and then back. So they'll be going out in one direction and then coming back and paving the last direction. So we've tried to put that on our Facebook page and on our website to help keep residents informed, but again, would encourage folks to stay away from that as that construction is going to be messy,
So,
traffic-wise.
to clarify, it's mill and pave right behind
Yes,
it?
there. If I remember correctly, there is a requirement by UDOT that the contractor can only, I think it's either 24 or 48 hours in advance can mill, and then they have to pave within that 24 to 48 hours. I can check on that for you, but it isn't like they can mill the whole thing and then pave it. You're exactly right. They have to mill and pave as they go, rather than leaving it milled for some time.
And so, and do you anticipate only, how long until they get past the Summit Ridge?
They've indicated that would be 2 to 3 days to get past the Summit Ridge turnoff there, the new road to Summit Ridge, and then again all the way out to Redwood
Yeah.
Road, and then turn around, come back. And so, again, I anticipate maybe a week to 10 days worth of actual disruption time, but it will be broken up as they go out and then come back. And then the portion from 300 East to the freeway will be done last. And they're likely, again, as I indicated last meeting, that they'll likely be coming to the mayor to ask for some overnight work to be able to do that and lessen the impacts on the traffic. You may have noticed that they took the island out. That part of that project is to move that island to the north and actually have 2 eastbound lanes. Don't get real excited because one of them has to go on the southbound I-15. That's going to alleviate a little bit of the traffic. We're still going to have the bottleneck underneath the freeway because that's not going to change at this point in time.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions about anything else for Norm? Okay, Community Development Director Jason?
Yeah, so from the planning side of things, our 3 main planning efforts that are moving forward. One, tomorrow morning at 9:30, we'll be having the presentations on Zoom from the Utah State University Landscape Architecture and Environmental Planning seniors. We're looking forward to seeing the work they put in the past 5 months with envisioning things related to Santaquin City. That is something that will happen tomorrow morning. but we're anticipating that at the next council meeting on the 18th, that they'll be coming to the work meeting, a couple of the professors, maybe a couple of the students to do more of an in-person interaction presentation with the council to talk more about that. But we're looking forward to that being recorded so that we can share that with the community so they can see all the different ideas that the students have put together. I know we put that out on social media and stuff. There's a GL code for people that might be interested to watch that. We've held a kickoff meeting for the active transportation planning effort. If you remember, this is a grant we got from Mount Atlantic Association of Governments to look at active transportation that includes trails, bike lanes, things like that. Really, what the consultant Parametrics is going to be doing at this point is doing an assessment of what we have right now in terms of trails and things like that. A lot of the work for that planning effort will be done at the Planning Commission level. So we encourage anybody who's interested in active transportation and trails and stuff to look at upcoming Planning Commission agendas and come and be a part of those discussions. That's where we'll have our consultant come and do presentations and seek feedback and direction for that planning. Finally, the general plan. Right now, for most of the month of May, it's going to be encouraging and trying to get data through surveys. So we encourage the public to participate that way. We're doing things to get the word out, to fill that survey out, and that will really be good input for the city and for the consultant to take the next step in that general plan effort to update. So that's kind of the planning that's going on. In terms of development applications that are in, next Tuesday, the DRC meeting, we've got those couple commercial subdivisions that are in Summit Ridge. Those will be preliminary plans, which will be the DRC's recommendation to the Planning Commission. So that will likely be on the agenda there. We have a handful of final plats. We have the Hills at Summit Ridge, Plat E. We have Summit Ridge Townhomes Phase D. And then we have a smaller subdivision, which is kind of a long story. It's just here north and a little east of where we're at right now. That is called the Cottonwood subdivision. It's kind of got a complicated history. There's some platted lots there, but the infrastructure improvements were never installed. So we've needed property owners to kind of come together and get those infrastructure improvements in place so that the lots can then be buildable and built on. So,
Jason,
yes.
pardon me, do you mean north and west?
Oh, excuse me. Yes, north and west.
Okay, I've driven past where they've been working on that, and okay.
Yep, I apologize. Northwest of here. So there's, I don't know, 6 or 7 lots, 8 lots. So, and then at the Planning Commission level, there's been a couple public hearing notices for some concept plans that have been submitted. And those will be looked at by the Planning Commission. There's no action taken. It's just feedback. It's our reaction to these conceptual plans and proposals that have been submitted to the city. One of which is Stratton Acres, which is just north and east of the Apple Valley Elementary School. And then we have Scenic Ridge.
Single family homes.
And that's proposed single family homes, 1/4 acre in size. There's no PUD. It's just a standard subdivision, and that's what they're proposing. Again, this is concept, so there's a lot of things that feedback that will be given before they really, flesh out the engineering and infrastructure details. The other one is also a concept plan, and that is Scenic Ridge Estates. This is up on the East Bench, just down there below the Peter Rabbit Springs property that the city owns. This too is a standard subdivision, 1/4 acre lots, and again a concept plan, feedback and direction from the Planning Commission to move forward. So
It is a little farther south than Peter Rabbit.
yeah, down
Yeah, it's
map,
about
down on the
400
elevation.
south
down the mountain, but I guess a little bit south. So up there in that vicinity.
Yes, it's on the hillside, but
Correct.
it's south of where Peter Rabbit is located.
Correct. Yep. So that's what we're expecting at the Planning Commission. And yeah, a lot going on. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. If no questions, Councilmember Montoya.
I don't have anything to report today.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Youth Council will have a big activity on Monday, so I'll report at the next meeting about that. But I do have just an observation.
All right, just take your
You
time.
thought you were off the hook. Not so
Observation.
lucky. At, where is it? 300 West and about like between 300 and 400 North, there's some kind of pump station or something right there that's there's an empty lot on the corner, and then there's a pump station or something that is there that has a chain link fence around it.
You're talking 200 west and 400 north. Is that what you're talking about?
Not the one.
Yes. Yes.
Not
Sorry.
the one-way road. That's
I
300.
try to track how
That's
I
okay.
take my son to tennis and then come back again, and I always try to use the light.
That's,
So,
that is Summit Creek Irrigation's pump station.
oh, okay,
Or deep well, I'm sorry. We
Okay.
we actually have an underground vault there that has a bunch of wells in there.
okay.
But that's their irrigation well.
Okay, because I've noticed that part of the chain link fence is down
Mhm.
and it's exposed. I didn't know if that was city but since it's SCIC, I don't know if they need to be notified out of courtesy or if they're already aware of it.
I believe they're aware of it. I believe that they're rehabbing the well,
Okay,
if I remember correctly.
okay. Great. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Bowman, do you have anything to report on?
Yes, so I'm meeting with John tomorrow on the library board and some summer programs going on. And next week we're meeting with some youth to talk about the beautification board, and Norm will be there as well. And that's it.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Hathaway.
Yeah. Yesterday morning was quite early, Norm. Just, I got to tell you. No,
Sorry about that.
no, that's
You
okay.
can talk to the mayor about your plans.
Anyway, we had I went to the meeting, the Mount Nebo Water
Agency.
Agency. Got sworn in, or sworn at, either way. No, sworn in. I'm sure glad you're there, Norm. Anyway, I did talk to you today about that money, and just that's taken care of, so perfect. And then the other thing I got is I just want to say and a thank you or an appreciation for the conference. It was I learned a lot down there. It was a good conference. I can see, and that's what I was saying earlier about the legislation. I wish people would understand that the legislation in the state dictates a lot. So, anyway, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to go down there.
Perfect, thank you. Councilmember Meekum.
Just echo the words that Councilmember Hathaway said about the conference. It was very educational, great speakers. It was great to have our new governor come down, take the time to speak to us, associate with us. That means a lot to elected officials. I thought that was really, really good, and just thanks for the opportunity to go down.
Perfect, thank you. A couple things for myself. Police department's doing well. Nothing really to report on. Just business as usual, as Chief likes to say. So everything's going well there. Recreation side, community service side, I should say. Shauna Joe passed her certified parks and recreation professional certification. So that's a pretty big deal. You guys maybe congratulate her when you see her. John said it's joins an elite minority group of rec professionals across the country. I got one more email. Sorry, 1 second. And then lot of, I don't know if you guys have seen this or noticed this, but there's the new baseball and soccer uniforms this year. So we went away from the reversibles, and each team has a solid color. They have matching socks, matching shirts. I don't know about the baseball. I only associate with the soccer side, but they're really nice. Has the logos of the sponsors on the back. It has a little number up at the top. Really well done. Very impressed with soccer from the start. Like I said, I personally deal with the soccer side, so I don't see as much on the baseball side. But basketball court, like Norm already talked about. I think we're all aware that we received a grant to improve the baseball snack shacks. Public Works did a lot of that work. Both the snack shacks are open now. They're offering hot dogs, nachos, and they're taking credit cards. Is one of the improvements, so that will definitely help. We have multiple community sponsors supporting our new summer passport program. Youth will participate in activities starting in June, stopping by businesses for stamps. At the end of the summer, they'll have prizes and a party. So, and overall, everything that I'm associated with on the community service side is doing well. Lots of momentum, and everyone's doing well over there. That's all I have. Mayor says he appreciates you guys. Thanks for serving. If there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Meekum. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Montoya. Adjourned, 8:05.